Hi guys, my name is Mackenzie Huber and I'm going to be summarizing Tim Leberecht's TED Talk, 4 Ways to Build a Human Company in the Age of Machines. So as I mentioned, the speaker of the video was Tim Leberecht. He was born and raised in Germany, and he now lives in San Francisco with his wife and daughter. He is the founder of the Business Romantic Society, which is a firm that helps leaders and organizations with their vision, story, and transformation. He has over 20 years of experience in marketing leadership roles. This includes within the design, software, telecommunications, and entertainment industries in the US, Asia, and in Europe. And he is a humanist. He is also the author of The Business Romantic, which is a book that was published in 2015, and it is currently translated into 9 different languages. He is a distinguished speaker. He has 2 other TED Talks as well as other speakings that he has done in various other settings. And he has a master's in applied cultural studies from a college in Germany and a master's in communication management from a university in California. He argues that we are losing sight of the importance of the emotional and social aspects of our work. That is what he is all about, is the emotion and the beauty behind humanity. So on to the TED Talk, 4 Ways to Build a Human Company in the Age of Machines. He claims that half of the workforce will be replaced by software and robots within the next 20 years. This is due to machines versus humans, where machines are efficient and humans are difficult. And so corporate leaders can take this age of software, of machines, all of that, and hopes to increase profit. But Mr. Leberecht wants our organizations to stay human. He doesn't want the machines to be what's taking over everything. And he claims that to maintain humanity, we need to create beauty. So he has 4 points that he talks about on how to do this. These are very subjective principles, but they are definitely something to consider. So the first point being do the unnecessary. The example that he uses for this is Chobani. Their CEO and founder, Handi Ulukaya, granted stock to all 2,000 of his employees. Some people say this was a publicity stunt. Some people say it was just very generous of him. But it was remarkable either way. And why it was remarkable, the point that was noted in this video, is that it created something out of nothing. It caught everybody off guard. It wasn't anything that anybody expected. And then the other example that he used for this was that he was involved with a merger of 2 companies, and they were creating a third, and this third company's theme color was going to be orange. And so they had this idea of getting orange balloons for the release of this company, but then their budget didn't allow for it, and they didn't have enough money to do these orange balloons, and the merger fell through. Now, this isn't because of the balloons, but when you cut unnecessary, you cut everything. The second point that he goes on to talk about is create intimacy. Studies show that how we feel about our workplace depends on the relationships with our coworkers. Just think about it in your own workplace. I know personally, the better relationships I have with the people that I'm working with that day, I like being there better. Some people say that the secret to a healthy relationship is intimacy. And we always tend to underestimate the strength of strong ties And that's something that businesses can focus on, is those strong ties between their workers. Richard Bach has a quote saying, "Intimacy, not connectedness. Intimacy is the opposite of loneliness." The example used in here is a company called Care. They wanted to launch a campaign on gender equality, and so they took 36 employees to the Khajuraho temples, which are famous for their erotic sculptures, and there they just openly discussed personal relationships and their experiences with gender equality. They were just very open in everything, and it broke down barriers, and not one of those employees that they had quit within the next 4 years. The last example for this was a food company, Danone. They gathered 100 of their employees all over different departments and levels, and had them wear costumes and masks and wigs for this conference. And this worked out really well because they killed the hierarchy. They took the hierarchy and made everybody on the same level, which was able to create intimacy. The third point is to be ugly. Organizations are constantly designing beautiful workplaces, trying to make everything feel like home or be like a resort or anything along those lines. But to be authentic is to be ugly. And this doesn't mean to not have fun, but to speak the ugly truth, to be raw. So the example was a struggling business unit, and what happened here is that they identified, pinned all of their issues, every issue that they had on these large boards, and they had over 100 problems. And they put them all into this room where everybody could see. It was all visible, and they called it the ugly room. And this helped them because it was visible to everybody. Everybody could see the ugly. It was all there and out in the open for everybody to see. And another thing that he mentioned at the end of this point is the ugliest part of our body is our brain, both on the inside and just looking at a picture of it. And all of us have been ugly once, because what is unfamiliar to somebody is considered ugly. And so we've all been there, we've all done it, and it usually turns out better whenever we be vulnerable like that, which also goes back to his second point and helps us to create intimacy. The last point that he had to make was to remain incomplete. The example that was used was Nuit debout. It was a protest movement in response to the proposed labor laws in France. Tim Leberecht was there the one night with one of his friends, and this is how he knows about all of this. So hundreds of them would gather at the Place des Républiques. Oh, I said that really poorly, I'm sorry. Place des Républiques. They created like this small temporary village showing a vision for the French Republic. And at that village, they had like this general assembly where they could speak freely in this special language. And this concept was born in the face of a crisis. It was messy, it was full of controversies, contradictions, just everything. But whether people agreed or not, Tim argued that this is a beautiful lesson in raw humanity. This shows us the core of humanity. And Paris was a very fitting place for this, because if you think about it, it's the city of ideals, it's the city of love, it's where everybody wants to go. But it shows us that the most beautiful places are worth fighting for, especially when they're uncertain, like these movements that are always so uncertain. So to conclude the summary, beauty in humans, this was the very end, the last points that Tim had to make, is so to do the unnecessary and to create intimacy, to be ugly and to remain incomplete are qualities of beautiful companies but they're also inherently human characteristics. They're qualities of what we call home. And he argues that beauty can save the world, because if we acquire and promote this new aesthetic and have this appreciation of the unnecessary and intimacy and ugliness and remaining incomplete, we can create better businesses. We can stay human. We don't have to be aliens in our own world. So 3 questions that I have to ask are, how can we help our business become or stay beautiful? Which of the points can you personally relate to or be most comfortable with? And how can we keep from becoming aliens in our own world? Thank you.